You tell me when we're live, and I will bring the A game. Nothing but 3-pointers. Nothing but net, Jess. Swish.
Well, we're live. As soon as you said, tell me when we're live, we were live.
And here's the A game.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Go do your intro. Sorry. Do your intro.
This is Ultimate Spiderdays, and I'm Omnidog with Chat Omnidog, also known as ETL, and we talk about Ultimate Spider-Man, and we are going through a read-through and review, so you can judge for yourself.
Volume 9.
Should I hunt down those trades or hardcovers or read them on Marvel Unlimited, however you want to? It's a pretty famous run that Brian Michael Bendis, this is one of the things he got famous for. And so Chad Omnidog and I have gotten up to now issue 46 and Ultimate 6, 1 through 7 in this book.
That's the volume 9.
Volume 9 in the trades.
So this is the only book that doesn't, or well, at least up till now, Mark Bagley doesn't draw it. Well, he draws issue 46, but then a guy named Trevor Hairsine draws the Ultimate 6. I don't know if you read that. So what'd you think? I thought briefly, I just thought the issue 46 I thought was great.
Yeah.
That's it's the post. If we can all go back and go watch the videos, rewatch them from the beginning until you get caught up to here, because we go back to the big fight between Doc Ock and Spider-Man. I don't even remember what issue that is, but it was a couple trade paperbacks to 3 trade paperbacks ago, and he is fighting Doc Ock, and then he's gonna have the confrontation with Kraven the Hunter, and then he punches Kraven and the Hunter, knocks him out, and then so issue 46 opens from that moment, and we're told from the point of view of Sharon Carter, which was my mom's maiden name, by the way. Her name
was that right?
Yeah. So every time I see it, I'm always like, oh, that's funny. But
that's cool.
My mom, secret agent, SHIELD agent. It's true story. So this issue issue 46 opens up with that, and we're told that scene, and we're kind of introduced to Sandman.
Yeah, let me show some art while you're talking about it.
And this is Mark Bagley, right? The artist.
Yeah.
He does the art in this one. Yeah. So that's Sharon Carter. She's a redhead. That's Sandman sitting there in this jail cell. Although we don't know who he is. There's like 3 nerds sitting around watching a teleprompter, and she says, "Let him go. This is not what we do." But apparently, we later learn in America, all we do is put violent criminals without any due process in jail. More on that later. So there is Sandman, who is, I can't remember, what's his name?
Flint Marko.
Yeah, Flint Marko. Same thing. There he is, looking scary pre-Sandman. Great intro, great issue. We really don't learn more about him at all, or see much of him through the Ultimate 6. But cool intro. Then Spider-Man was trying to get back home. He's in New Jersey. If we all will remember, way back when this battle took place in New Jersey, and Spider-Man couldn't find his way, couldn't get a ride back, so he stayed. And then good thing he did, because Sandman is there. We get some fights between Spider-Man and Sandman, and then I don't know where, I can't remember how they zap his brain. I don't know if there's some sort of
the nerds have a gun they use that zaps them.
And this kind of happens later at the end of the trade paperback with Ultimate 6. Iron Man uses this magic bullet for every guy, so it is very much like the very, very comic booky how they get rid of them. But yeah, so his brain gets fried, and
I really like the art in this. I think this is some of his best art.
Yeah, cool. It's a really cool Sandman design.
Yeah.
I do miss the green shirt, but maybe we'll get one later.
Here they are using the gun on him to subdue him.
Mm-hmm. Kind of out of nowhere. I will say that Bendis isn't great about the subduing of bad guys, but oh well, he can't do everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed this issue because it's a new iteration for Sandman.
Yep.
I like how they they didn't even know, the Sharon Carter didn't even know who he was, and just said, "What are you doing in here? Do you speak English?" And the doors open, and he just
Blast everyone
out. And they're originally trying to figure out where Otto Octavius came from.
Yeah.
And this is the I think this is the science lab where he came from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Oscorp. If you remember, it was owned by Oscorp, and Doc Ock went out there to tell everyone that's where he came from.
Right.
So then we go to so Sandman is subdued, taken into custody, and then we find and then we go to the Ultimate Six, which is I think 7 issues.
Yeah.
1 through 7. And so the Ultimates, and I looked up the Ultimate Six in the 616 world was first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1. So these from 1964. So this grouping has been around for a long time. But in this iteration, it has Doc Ock, Kraven the Hunter, Electro, and Sandman. And instead of, and then also the Vulture. And then instead of Green Goblin, it had Mysterio. And instead of, and you know, spoiler alert, in this Ultimate Six, Spider-Man joins the Ultimate Six, and instead of the Vulture. So this is really more of an Ultimate book. I would say than Spider-Man,
because the Ultimate Avengers, or the Ultimates as they're called, are in it.
Yeah, they're over half. I don't think Peter Parker comes in until halfway through the book.
Yeah,
I didn't love the art. I found it very muddied. It seems like everyone has like weird facial hair that comes and goes in its own weird way.
I'll tell you what, the only thing, I like the art overall, but whoever the artist was couldn't get the same face twice on his characters.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's right. That's what I hated. Yeah, because like there'd be different, like when they come up in close-ups, like some guy would have a goatee, like when it, like closer or farther away, and it would just, nothing will stay the same twice.
Yeah, like this is Electro, and his face just changes. Yeah, and it's never
the hair is different.
Yeah, and it's different all the time. His face is, and they don't really get. Here's where the Ultimates show up.
Yeah, I would say like this guy's kind of like a poor man's like Steve Epting, or maybe a poor man's like Brian Hitch or something. You know, like it wasn't. He kind of has those qualities, but they're just not as good as I think the action is better than faces, and he did a lot of faces. Like, look at that.
He did get close to each face here because he had to reference them. You know, the panel above, he could do, you know, trace it and do the panel below. But this was the closest he came to matching every face. So even here, it was difficult.
Yeah, they don't look great. The one on your left, I think, looks okay, but the one on the right is just gross. And I don't. And the problem is, like, so the thing is, so we open up with Doc Ock, Electro, Sandman, and Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, all with collars that nullify their powers, and they're all being held without bail or even criminal charges brought against them by Nick Fury and the Ultimates. And so they're in the basement, and for some inexplicable reason, they thought putting those guys in group counseling would be like a way to do it. I mean, that was pretty cheesy. So they're all in group counseling, they're all talking and ranting, and you know, in various degrees. And then their group therapist is Hank Pym, who, you know, I think in this world did he beat his wife or Janet? I
forget. It's in the Ultimates book, and I need to read it to get.
He's a douche
with it, but he did something bad.
Yeah, he's a douche at the least.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the group. So and the Ultimate, and also like. I would say, like, I would put this in my non-reread, and I guess I probably won't get rid of it because it's in the number 9 out of 10. But like, it's just not much happens. I mean, we spent a ton of time with those guys in group therapy. Then they, of course, break out. Doc Ock acts like he's drinking the Kool-Aid, says he wants to help them, but then he has like a connection with his arms, you know, the mechanical arms. The one cool thing is that he showed where he's like talking to them and they're in the same room, and then he has the mechanical arms kill 4 people. Do you have that page? That's pretty cool. And then of course he breaks out everyone else. Norman Osborn is you know, the mastermind of they escape. They go to Wilson Fisk's summer home. And then that whole, you don't even need to show it, but that whole like sequence, they kept showing faces. I had no idea who was who. They all looked exactly the same.
Right.
And they all, I mean, except for Doc Ock's creepy, what's it called when you have his bangs, other than that, and his glasses, they all, Flint,
right,
Craven, Norman Osborn, they all looked exactly the same.
I could never tell who Norman Osborn was, and he was pretty much the narrator.
Really shitty design. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately it didn't really matter. They had a lot of scenes where they basically called the president and asked for $100 million, and he says no. And then they attack the White House. And I'm skipping a lot, but I'm really not skipping that much because it seemed to me there was a lot of like talking that didn't matter much. And
you'll see by all these pictures, Spider-Man's not in it yet.
Yeah, he doesn't come till over halfway.
Yeah.
And they basically go and get Peter Parker because Norman Osborn wants him. He keeps calling him my boy. And it comes out that he believes like Peter Parker's like his greatest success because the spider that bit Peter Parker was a Norman Osborn, science project. So
right.
he considers Spider-Man like a great success. And but it was okay. I mean, yeah, that's the cool page where the arms kill 4 people unattached to Doc Ock. That was pretty badass. And so it turns out the secretary or the chief of staff of the president went to college with Norman Osborn, and so he can call him directly. It's also kind of, you know, you hate to side with these bad guys, but it is a little creepy that they're all just put in like detention and with no trial, and Nick Fury just puts them in a basement and does scientific experiments on them. Kind of looking at these things in a different light now, you know, it's like, I think Norman Osborn's Green Goblin killed lots of people, but I don't know if we should just lock him up without having a trial, you know?
And at one point, at the very end of the story, Cap wants to put a bullet in everybody's head. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, this isn't the Steve Rogers you're used to. Yeah.
You know.
It was dark. So then they battle. They attack the White House. Electro's pretty badass in this world. He shuts down like a whole shield place when they escape, and then he shuts down the whole White House.
Yeah, here he is shutting down the very headquarters.
And somehow I can't remember even how they kidnapped Peter Parker. I don't remember how they got Peter Parker, the Ultimate 5 rather. But then with Peter Parker, they are the Ultimate 6.
Yeah, the Ultimate 6. Let's see.
And so
it's right here. Oh, he's in Shield headquarters, and they snatch him out of Shield headquarters.
Because he called his aunt to see how she's doing, and
right.
I guess we're supposed to insinuate that Norman Osborn figured out where he is from that. So they get him, and then they make him join. Peter Parker makes him join the Ultimate 6 by telling him that they have Aunt May, and they'll kill Aunt May and Mary Jane and her whole family if he doesn't help. And May is actually being held by the Shield in the Shield facility again against her will, which I have a good feeling is illegal. So this is them telling Peter Parker, "You got to join us," and he says no. And again, the design on Peter Parker, I think, is just atrocious. Like you
mean the facial design?
Yeah.
The faces on these characters. I like the battle scenes and stuff, but these faces are very odd.
Yeah, and again, like I think that's Norman Osborn down on the bottom, like underneath the big action shot of Peter Parker breaking out, but like I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. But I'm not positive.
And I really hated the design of Craven. Craven also has taken some sort of genetic mutation, so he becomes kind of animalistic.
Right.
Again, but that get all the background characters get kind of thrown out. I would say it is very much an Ultimates, Norman Osborn, and a little bit of Doc Ock and a Nick Fury story. But all the other like Ultimate Six get kind of just like thrown out with the trash. You know,
well, yeah. Even when Spider-Man's in on the action, he really doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Here he is with the rest of the Ultimate Six. And
yeah, and he never wears his mask. Again, more people knowing his secret identity. Who cares?
Right. And so let's see. I'm trying to find a part where he actually. Well, he's actually rebelling against the Green Goblin.
Yeah, he does. Well, that's when they tell him that Aunt May is with them. He doesn't have it. So then he decides to fight.
This is almost the end of the story, though.
Yeah, and then Iron Man gets some sort of magic. He can call him like something that turns off their powers, and he turns off Sandman's powers. I think, right? You know, it's a little convenient.
Which genetic code sequence do you want first? And
yeah, that came out of nowhere. They've never even talked about that before. You know, like, yeah, because just give me the Sandman one, and then he soups out Sandman. And I do not like the Iron Man. And I know this is the ultimate design. I do not like his design in this world at all. He's very I don't know, just not cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a little ridiculous to have Iron Man like have muscles in the iron suit, but you know, it still looked cool. I was in.
Yeah. And then they bring Harry Osborn to the White House to subdue Norman Osborn.
And again, like I would have had no idea that was Harry Osborn if they hadn't said I'm Harry Osborn, because you know what I mean, he just doesn't look at all like what we're used to. Yeah, that was a weird moment. The Green Goblin didn't seem to much care.
Yeah. I like the action sequences. I found them all exciting and interesting and helped move the story forward.
And there's Iron Man that I don't like Iron Man.
Right. But I just felt like there weren't enough distinguishing characteristics on the faces for me to be able to tell who was who.
Yeah.
You know, with exception of like Captain America and Nick Fury and Thor, they made it obvious who they were. But it was sort of and here's where Cap wants him to put a bullet in the back of the neck at the very end, and
of a completely subdued and knocked out and in a like coffin-like sarcophagus who's still alive Green Goblin. Cap's like, let's kill him.
But they want to harvest his DNA because they think Nick Fury thinks the next war is going to be a genetic war, and so they have to harvest his DNA.
It kind of makes you realize why in the 60s they made them all wear like ridiculous costumes, you know, because it makes them all look individual, right? I mean, think about it. Like they all look kind of crazily different, where in this world they all just look like white guys with short brown hair, every one of them.
That's about right.
And then sometimes they'd have facial hair and sometimes they didn't, because the guy would do like cross hatching, I think, and like I don't know, and it looked like they had facial hair. And
I think Craven had facial hair.
But there's a couple like random like shield agents that like the hair or the cross hatching on the face would change, and I'd be like, is that the same guy staying behind Nick Fury, or is it a new guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
So where would you rate this overall?
So far, I would say it was an interesting premise, but it was the weakest execution of all the stories we've read so far. I understand the idea of S.H.I.E.L.D. operating without due process, that it's comic books and they're fighting, they're getting ready for a genetic war, and okay, I get that. But it didn't seem this didn't seem to be the strongest story so far, illustration wise and story wise. This was just sort of, as you said in the beginning, that the art was kind of muddled, and it sort of was. And I feel like this story could have been more. If I don't, maybe if they had, well, of course, it's the Sinister Six turned into the Ultimate Six. So, but they all banded together, the Sinister Six, to beat down on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And in this one, they're beating down on the Ultimates, and Spider-Man's just sort of a bystander.
He's the sixth. There aren't even six bad guys. I mean,
yeah, they're calling him a bad guy because Green Goblin wants him to fight with him.
Yeah, I mean it was one of these. It was one of those books. This happens a lot to me in comic books. Like while I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, this is like I'm actually enjoying it, especially the beginning. I mean, I thought the especially the Doc Ock escaping and stuff like the Doc Ock stuff was kind of interesting. And then, but then like and then when I get done, I kind of think about it, I'm like, oh, that really wasn't that good, or not that much happened. Like, you know, and which is fine. I mean, it's good. At the very least, I was enjoying it while I was reading it. Yeah, but I agree with you. It's kind of the weakest link so far, or just kind of. I mean, I'm not mad. I've read it, and like I said, I'll probably keep it because it is the run. But yeah, it's definitely not something that, like on the reread I'd be super pumped for. You know, it might be a skimmer.
Yeah, it wasn't. All the other Ultimate stories I've read so far, everything up to this point has been really fun.
Me too.
There's been some element of fun in all of it, you know, even though there could be dire consequences happening to the characters or something. There was some random element of this is a fun comic book and fun to read, and I'm compelled to keep reading. But this story sort of lacked that.
Yeah. I do. The Ultimates are like the Avenger. Like I do like the Ultimates a lot. Like those, I've always enjoyed those books, and I think they're almost like, you know, Avengers meet the Authority. You know,
right?
Well, I mean, it's a clear ripoff actually of the Authority, but it was very good. It was cool to see. It was just cool to see them expand it a little bit. But yeah, everyone's just kind of, like I said, it's a little bit of treading water.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, you know,
we'll try next week. Peter Goes to Hollywood or something.
Yeah. So next week is volume 10, Hollywood.
And
that's issues 54 through 59.
Okay.
Back to Bigley. No spoilers, but that'll be exciting. I have a little recommendation for you.
Okay.
And because speaking of Iron Man, one of my favorite Iron Man runs is the Invincible Iron Man. This is from 1998, done by Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen. Do you have this book?
I did, and I sold it because I'm not really that big of an Iron Man fan. I'm not a big Iron Man fan. I love Kurt Busiek, but I'm just not.
Did you read it?
Fan.
Did you read it?
No.
I love this 98. So this is coming after the Heroes Reborn. This is the Heroes Reborn was when they brought Lee Field and Jim Lee all back, and they revamped it. Like it's pretty terrible on every front. The Jim Lee drawing Fantastic Four is pretty fun, but you know, this is the Onslaught. I can't remember if Onslaught happened before the Return or after, but then this is 1998, and so this is like it's called the Return. Reborn is the bad, Return is the good, and so this is like the Dan Jurgens Thor, drawn by John Romita Jr. Kurt Busiek does the Avengers with Perez is the artist. That's one of my favorite Avengers runs of all time. And then Fantastic Four is written by Claremont and has various artists on that. And so these are all been on. If you read that Thor run by Dan Jurgens, that's those two thick omnibus.
Of what?
Of the Thor run by Dan Jurgens.
Thor's another character I haven't liked until Jason Aaron started writing it.
I don't love Thor either. I love that run. And maybe this is like kind of like I got out of comics and then came back right when this was happening. I avoided all that. And so like all this stuff is real like a soft spot for me. But like but it is genuinely good, especially compared to how they tried to revamp it, and then that really failed. And then they just said, well, we'll revamp it again. And normally you're like, Spidey sense goes off. You're like, this is going to be terrible. But like I love, yeah, oh, and also this is the Mark Waid Captain America. Like yeah. So that time period is, it was like they restarted Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man, and Fantastic Four and Thor all at one time, and they're all really good.
Okay.
But I love, and this is early Sean Chen's art. I really like. I love it when like Tony Stark is like rich and kind of that swashbuckling kind of rich dude, and then the Iron Man was protecting him. I love that stuff. So, but yeah, Iron Man is not. I don't know. I do like it a lot, but like he has some rough runs that I'm not like super in love with. But he was one of my first comics. I should find out the issue, but it was like when Rowdy Rhodes was wearing the costume, and he went to West Coast Avengers. Have you ever read any of that stuff?
I haven't.
And so like when he goes to West Coast Avengers, he's Iron Man, and I can't remember if they think he's Tony Stark or whatever, but there's this big reveal that Iron Man's a black guy inside. They're like, oh my God, all the West Coast Avengers were shocked. But he goes to California, and I distinctly remember it being my first comic book I ever read. It was like a outline of the California on a map, and Iron Man's on it. So I still have it, but so Iron Man is a little soft spot in my heart, but like Iron Man is Rowdy Rhodes, which is bizarre for most people. And then I really liked him as War Machine too. I liked it when they were like,
oh, okay, I knew that character.
But so that's my rec. I know you.
Okay.
Probably won't buy it again.
I don't know. Now that I forgot about Kurt Busiek being a writer, I really like his writing and everything. I kept his Avengers run. I'm not a big Avengers fan, but I kept Kurt Busiek's Avengers run.
Did you read it? Did you read that?
I haven't read it yet, but I mean, I kept it. It's in the to read pile. So
do you have the Omnis or?
I have the individual hardcover.
That's what I have. Yeah, I love Astro City. I mean, I'm really behind on that.
Oh yeah, Astro City's so good.
I was floored by that. Like,
yeah,
I'm really. Have you kept up? Have you read the newer stuff? Because I'm
about 3/4 of the way caught up.
Yeah,
I haven't read the last 4 books, but that's about it.
Oh yeah, well you're way. I read maybe like the first 4, but I have it all. Yeah, I'm rarely disappointed by him. He wrote this great book called Aerosmith.
I love that book.
Oh, and that's so good, right?
That is such a good book.
Yeah, and I was going through my shelf because I was looking at the Avengers, and I was going to bring down the Avengers and even Thor, but like I'll just bring one of the 98 books. But yeah, so I was looking through like my right by Avengers is Aerosmith, and I was like, oh, I remember that. I need to reread that. That was fun.
That is such a fun book.
Yeah, and I need to catch up on Astro City. I miss it. But,
yeah.
All right. Well.
All right. Well,
that's
thank
my rec.
you for watching. Thanks for tuning in and keeping up with us on Ultimate Spider-Man.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. That's right. Feel free to leave a comment. We'll always respond to your comments. Next week, Peter Parker goes to Hollywood for some reason, and we will find out.
Yep.
And thanks to Chad Omnidog for joining me. And we will see you on the next episode, or you'll see us. We'll hear from you in your comments. Okay, whatever. Thank you. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace out. Nothing but a game.